Welcome to my channel BornToReddit. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to share my birthday with my dead twin anymore? My 19th birthday is this Friday, and I told my mom and dad I don't want to do anything if we are gonna have the birthday for my twin too. I was an identical twin and me and my sister were born early, and she died a few hours after we were born. Every single birthday since I was little has also been a birthday for her. We go to her grave and put flowers on it, and every gift has always had both her and my name on it. Mom gets really sad and always cries for a long time, and I have always felt overshadowed on my birthday. The grave visit and flowers and all have always been mandatory, and I was never allowed to have friends over or have a party until after we did it. I want to go to dinner with my boyfriend for my birthday at his house, and then I'm gonna watch movies with my friends. Mom is upset I'm not making the hour-long drive Friday to do the grave ritual, and is really sad, and my dad is making me feel guilty since I'm their only living daughter and stuff. I told my mom I don't want to share my birthday with a sister I never even knew, and I'm done with sharing with a ghost since this has been my entire life. My parents are really upset, and now I feel really bad and maybe I should suck it up, but I am just so sick of it. Edit. Okay, so I didn't expect as much attention, so I'll try to answer some questions I've gotten a lot of. First of all, I don't live at home, I live on campus, which is an hour away from my hometown. Second, IDC, if my parents go, they can do whatever they want, just without me. I've hated going to the cemetery since I was like 13 and realized how weird it was, but my parents were very my house my rules about going. I don't like standing over the grave of a dead baby just to pretend to feel sadder than I do. I know it's hard on my parents, but I just want to have a birthday without being guilted by them. My mom gets quiet and cries a little whenever my sister is brought up, and it's turned up to 100 on my birthday. She died the same day we were born. It sucks seeing her like that. I love my parents, but you can love someone and not like their choices too. Also, I have about 10 unopened messages right now. I won't be reading them. 2 of the ones I got earlier were really mean and one said I should have died instead, so frick off. Not reading any more DMs, don't waste your time. If you're afraid I won't see your opinion in the comments, try getting over it. Not the a-hole, maybe I would look at this differently if you and your family had actually known your twin, but they basically died during birth. That is truly awful, but you never had any connection to them, so sharing a b-day with them is almost a bit morbid. Like, instead of having a fun day with activities you get to choose, you get to have a memorial instead. That's a bummer, and I can understand why you want it to stop. I know it must be hard on your mother, but maybe she should start respecting the feelings of her actual living child. Her parents should be celebrating the fact that OP survived, instead of mourning the one that sadly didn't make it. Not the a-hole, your parents need to move on. I'm not saying they shouldn't still be sad on the day, but forcing you to share your birthday with a dead sister is unhealthy after 19 years. Am I the a-hole for getting a teacher fired over my son's head tattoo? My son, just turned 16, has had alopecia since he was young. For those of you who don't know, his hair falls out. It can progress with severe stress, and since elementary school, has been bullied mercilessly for it. The only real treatment was these injections into his scalp, which, as I'm sure you can imagine, are super painful. It was getting to the point that he'd become anxious closer to the doctor's visits, so I started looking at different options. I came across micropigmentation and suggested it to my son. He agreed that this seemed like the best option, and so for his birthday, I managed to get an appointment set up under his doctor's recommendation, which made it totally legal. We drove 2 hours out of our way and spent the weekend in a larger city to get this done, since our town is fairly small. I don't know how to describe it. Even if it's buzzed, this stuff looks so real, and his confidence is just through the roof. He's no longer hiding under hats. He feels so confident with his new hair, and it's just really great to see. I'm honestly so glad that we made the decision, because now we can just move on from all of this. It's a huge weight lifted off of his shoulders every day. His school, however, thinks otherwise. He goes to a pretty strict Catholic school. Admittedly, I should have probably asked first, but I had flipped through the guidebook and saw nothing about tattoos in their policy. However, I got an angry email on Monday evening from a substitute teacher. She overheard my son explaining his procedure and felt compelled to tell me how this mutilation is illegal and unacceptable. I tried to explain, but she refused and continued to tear into me and him over this, going so far as to call me an irresponsible father for allowing my son to get a head tattoo. She called him a bad example and said that in no way is this acceptable under school rules. Well, here's where I may be the AH. That admittedly pissed me off a lot. So, I contacted not just the principal, but also a friend of mine who's on the board and the head of school, and forwarded them the conversation, with highlights, along with my own very strongly worded letter and other emails documenting the times that my son experienced bullying at that school with minimum, if any, repercussion to those involved. I'll admit I was angry, but I threatened to sue them for discrimination. Needless to say, this prompted a lot. Apparently the board is panicked about this, and the sub was fired. Word has gotten around due to the gravity of it all, and a few parents have called me the a-hole, saying that I took the threats too far, as this substitute was not a normal part of the school, and I shouldn't have taken such an aggressive approach. Am I the a-hole for getting this woman fired over this, and also for causing such a stir? ETA for clarification. They did not tell me we fired her. It was a much wordier way of putting it, along the lines of, well, I can't really say what sort of action the school will be taking on this matter, but I can assure you that you will not encounter her again. That information was relayed to me over the phone, so I don't remember the exact wording, but it was something like that. This is extra hard, because she had taught some of the parents of kids who go there now, and had since retired and become a sub. She was known for calling parents up at night when students were out of line, and it wasn't my first encounter with her. The previous ones were borderline. Son came to class with a hood or hat on, so those I'd say she was more or less valid with, but this was way different. Not the a-hole. She was way out of line, and the tattoo in question was a quality of life issue done with a doctor's approval. I would have done the same as you. I also want to add that most subs are smart enough to not just teach at one school. However, if the sub is emailing the father, I tend to wonder if that is the case here or not. Not the a-hole. As long as you were truthful, it sounds like the school didn't take a stand against bullying and even empowered a sub. Have to admit this seems far-fetched, because I can't imagine a sub who wouldn't delegate this, but taking the post at face value, to harass further. The sub had been teaching there for a while, and then retired, so she's one of those who thought she owned the school. We've had a couple of issues before with her making a deal about my son covering his head with a hood to the entire class. I really wish this was fake, because my mind is honestly blown. Well then, she is even more the a-hole than I first thought. I doubt your son is the only bullied kid whose life she made worse due to her rigidity. Not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for telling a woman where my baby came from? I'm 27, female, an Indian American woman. I was born and raised in America. A large majority of my childhood friends are Indian, and I love to catch up with them. I'm the first of my friend group to have a baby. I was expected to be the last to have one, but life happens. I love her very, very much, and she's the main focus of my friend group. Her father, 38 male, is white, and my baby looks predominantly white. For reference, my skin is tan and lighter than some of my friends, but I still look very Indian. My friends and I decided to have an outdoor lunch together for the first time since February. I take COVID very seriously because of my baby, now 6 months, but the cases in our area are very low, and we all agreed to go to a place with less crowd. We were very safe. My friends and I were all sitting at a table, and were having a great time. A white family later came to sit next to our table, still pretty far from us, more than 6 feet. My baby was laughing pretty loudly and babbling. She was being the happy little baby that she is. I had dressed her up in a lavender dress, and she was wearing a little matching bonnet. A lady from that family noticed us and walked over to us, without a mask and pretty close to me and my baby. I immediately started to put a mask on my baby. She started talking to me and complimented my baby, and then asked me where she came from. Her exact words were, "How cute. That baby is just adorable. I just want to eat that little face up. Where did she come from?" I was so confused and put off by that question. I didn't know what she was talking about and my immediate response was well, my VJ. My friends all looked so confused and irritated, and we were just super awkward. The lady was offended and told me that I could have just told her that my baby was mine and I didn't have to be so rude. She then huffed off and my friends and I were left pretty angry and confused. We carried on with our lunch, and then when we were leaving, the lady's husband and son walked up toward us and told us that we disrespected her and asked us if we had any lessons in basic manners. We didn't say anything to them because frankly, we were scared. I'm putting this story here because I want to know if what I said was wrong and if I brought this situation on myself. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Wow, I'm overwhelmed with the response. I showed this post to my friends and we all laughed at some of the replies. In regards to my baby and the mask, I'm a new mother and I'm young, please cut me some slack. My boyfriend is the one who's the baby expert and I try my best to keep up. I tried to do what was best to protect the baby, but I hear that I was wrong. Baby doesn't go out at all except to doctor visits, and I only put a mask on her because of how close the lady was. Not the a-hole. Normally I wouldn't advise mentioning your vagina to a stranger, but question was rude. I don't blame you for being taken aback. She came up to you and violated COVID restrictions, so I don't think you really owe her that much courtesy. Plus what you said was weird but not really rude. Her husband should have dropped it. I would have had a better reply if she asked me where I got my baby from, but the way she put it, where'd she come from, was just weird. Like, where do you think babies come from? I didn't know what exactly she was asking. Yeah, it seems like she was likely being racist with her question. I'm not sure what kind of answer she expected. Often the best answer to offensive questions is with facetious statements, exactly like OP made. I've also always heard that if someone tells you an offensive joke, pretend not to get it, and they'll usually stop telling them after that. Pretend not to get it, and then ask them to explain it to you. Share your best a-hole story in the comments. And don't forget, subscribe or I'll insert tiny little pieces of shattered glass directly into your pee hole.